sizing up a decent force right now. He's rather lacking in forces, whereas of course the 17th SS is really moving in force. Rifleman team absolutely almost, well wait, one survivor, but otherwise, no, there we go, absolutely slaughtered. Strafing run to the rescue, quickly suppressing. Anti-tank grenades being lobbed as though it was snowballs, wrecking this half-track, absolutely, no, I mean not half-track, armored car, absolutely horrific. And of course these Panzergrenadiers continue despite being strafing right, since there's nothing else to really deter them. Not the best choice. And of course medic station again a bit too exposed, and again nothing to really protect it. A heavy machine gun really should have been nearby, but of course that was lost, and a new one was not requisitioned. Instead a tank depot was acquired, and now only one infantry team. Things are really looking grim for Mr. Helliar. Medic station wrecked, and these horde of SS troopers fanatically carry on with their charge. A rather heavy blob, rather thick in fact. A heavy machine gun team rather nicely placed. A mine does kill a few and wound the rest, forcing some to retreat. And we see this heavy machine gun here having a nice position, watching over this nearby area. So all good there. No doctrine so far. We'll have to see what happens here. And something is on the way from the tank depot, while these Panzergrenadiers unsuspectingly are having a small meet together while seizing the central areas. Still no further riflemen though. I'm not really confident in this being a good idea. We'll have to see though. Perhaps Mr. Helliar can surprise. Perhaps he can surprise with a great victory. Only time will tell. And a bit of a lull in the fighting, and a full retreat from the Panzergrenadiers. And let's have a look at Mr. Helliar again. And just as I'm changing, we see the Sherman, M4 Sherman, workhorse of the US armored divisions. In terms of functionality, it is best to think of it a bit like the Sturmgeschütz, except that it has a turret and it doesn't look just nearly as cool, nor is it made of Krupp steel. That's of course those last two things speak against it, but in terms of actual usage, it's an infantry support weapon. Yes, it can deal with tanks, but that really shouldn't be its main focus, and really should be working together with infantry. And it doesn't quite have the same anti-armor capabilities as the high velocity gun of the Stug, but there we go. 30 caliber under threat from the Sherman. Sherman firing away, not really clearing out anything. This 30 caliber team will need to get out of there before the Sherman blows it away. Heavy machine gun team runs away. This Sherman not doing anything. We see a bit of fighting here as airborne from the 101st Airborne Division dropping in and takes on these Panzergrenadiers from light coerce. These Panzergrenadiers are not in cover, not good at all, and the M1 carbines continue to blast away, killing most of these Panzergrenadiers in a few seconds, prompting the retreat of the last Panzergrenadier. Martyr-free tank hunter. A bit of a self-propelled anti-tank weapon, ready to take on the Sherman with its Pak 40 mount on, of course, the Panzer 38T Czechoslovakian tank. And charging right into the Sherman. That's a bit of a bad idea. Of course, engineers are ready to repair this Sherman. Who will win? Most likely the Marder, although it does seem to have a bit of a problem penetrating the frontal armor. We'll have to see. And what is this? Strafing run, killing quite a few Panzergrenadiers, but it has been nerfed, so it probably would have killed a lot more in the previous patch. Airborne are also nearby. Panzergrenadiers continuing to conduct emergency repairs. And we see the airborne charging in. And my apologies. And now anti-tank grenades are being dropped en masse and absolutely annihilating the Sherman, and the Panzergrenadiers continue absolutely undaunted despite the loss of their brethren in the Marder free from the Panzerjägerabteilung. And not to be deterred, a second Sherman is on the way. Now let's just hope he's learned the lesson that currently, just like with American riflemen, you don't want your tank close to those Panzergrenadiers, otherwise it's going to meet an unfortunate demise. Panzergrenadier continuing to seize this victory point. Certainly a bit of back and forth fighting. with this really being the major point of confrontation. Airborne already, no upgrades for these riflemen, no airborne, not even a single hand grenade. All munitions apparently being used for strafing runs. No additional infantry, only Shermans. Apparently a great speaker of armored units, and I am rather noticing a lot more armor in the newer patch, so that's certainly nice to see. Although of course they still need to be used properly, as they're still not Panthers or Panzer IV. We'll have to see what happens there. Another moving in, and Panzer Grenadier down, Martyr free on the field at the same time. This Sherman though, again, much too close, we'll have to get out of there. Airborne firing up and charging right into these heavily armed Panzer Grenadiers. Another Panzer Grenadier goes down to the... Not entirely sure why those airborne are standing right out in the middle of the road. They will have to retreat, and oh dear, airborne team absolutely slaughtered in cold blood, and Sherman knocked out. This is absolutely horrific, and we see the observation post going up, meaning increased munitions, probably to support all of these strafing runs. And we see these Panzer Grenadiers having a bit of a rest near this jet black Martyr free, rather nice color in fact, rather menacing, and of course elite. Certainly one of the many Martyr designs that existed, some based on Panzer I chassis, or I do believe some other Lorraine carrier chassis, and of course Panzer IIs, some equipped with Pak 40s, some equipped with a Russian field cannon, which was actually quite effective to the point when it was first encountered in North Africa. They thought that Germans had actually been able to mobilize or mechanize the Flak 88 already, which was much to the horror of the British forces. But it was only a Soviet field cannon the Germans had converted.
They're going after a fuel point.
Panzer Grenadiers going for the western fuel point, while the rest are in a rather alarmingly large force moving towards the center. I do believe we're seeing 1-4, and well, that was a rather nice strafing run. The strafing run has been made, so it's rather effective against blobs. And there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Panzer Grenadiers absolutely brutally slaughtered by a single strafing run. Heavy loss for the Panzer Grenadiers, and how many survivors? Only 3. So that's probably at least 2 Panzer Grenadier teams completely wiped out. That's a heavy loss, and of course a very good use of the strafing run, as it should be now. An effective anti-blob tool instead of just being absolutely horrific against the Panzer Elite and any infantry on its own. And we see this supply drop being used quite effectively, securing some heavy machine guns and mortars, and just reinforcing this team, but not entirely throwing away. Very good. And now he has a heavy machine gun and a mortar, so all nice, but he's still going to need some extra to actually deal with all of this. We'll have to see where this goes. Not a lot, in fact. But certainly with those strafing runs, it does stand a bit more of a fighting chance. In particular, if Mr. BIS, Hauptsturmführer BIS, continues to just blob up his infantry. Heavy machine gun really needs to set up quickly before all is lost, before the Panzer Grenadiers get close. And firing away, Panzer Grenadiers quickly. Oh dear, he's standing out in the open again. Strafing run though, quick to save, but really this heavy machine gun needs to get out of there before it is lost. And it is lost once more. Anti-tank gun firing away at this Martyr free. Will the anti-tank gun win? Yes, Martyr free wrecked. Anti-tank gun though will need to get out of there, or it will be a very short-lived victory. Plenty of manpower. Will we see another Panzer Sherman, I mean? Possibly a Crocodile could perhaps be fun to use here. But then again, the regular Sherman would be able to deal with these at a distance. Continuing to fire away at these Panzer Grenadiers, who aren't really much threatened, but the continued fire does continue to keep them suppressed. And the Sherman is on the way. Mortar is ready as well again. Could be useful to quickly drop in. Anti-tank gun once more moving ahead. Since, despite the situation not really being clear, these riflemen are taking a lot of fire. Plenty of assault rifles, Panzer 43s, plenty of offensive veterans before them, so they're quite lethal. Actually hitting another strafing run, killing even further Panzer Grenadiers and suppressing them. Rather aggressive use of the strafing run. Certainly a lot of support from the United States Air Force. We will have to see how this progresses. Only down to 3 riflemen. Again, another infantry team would really be helpful. But might want to be getting another Sherman, and there we go. The third Sherman, I believe, is on the way. The two already right close to each other, dotting the French countryside. But a few martyrs as well, though, so not all bad, I suppose. Panzergrenadiers regrouping from those heavy losses incurred from aerial incursions. And we see another supply drop to give increased manpower, and of course some further heavy weapons if he does deem it necessary to get some further heavy machine guns. We'll have to see. Riflemen going once more for the central victory point, and the Marder is moving ahead again. With further Panzergrenadiers, it's a rather one-sided strategy that is being employed here. Plenty of Panzergrenadiers in one huge blob and a Marder free. I mean, after the strafing run, it should have been perhaps an idea to switch over to something additional to rather augment the Panzergrenadiers and allow them to spread out a bit more instead of just having them as a huge mass, which is a very easy target for AP-47 Thunderbolts. Sherman firing away, killing a few Panzergrenadiers. Mortars trying to fire away as well. Oh dear, the Sherman is once more awfully close, and this anti-tank gun is getting cleared out. Sherman getting too close. Strafing run moving in, killing a huge deal of Panzergrenadiers. I'm guessing possibly 9 dead Panzergrenadiers. Absolutely horrific. Sherman continuing to fire away. The mortar is also still there and still able to fire, but this Marder is getting close. Panzergrenadiers charging though undeterred, despite all of these machine guns firing from the Sherman. But one should note that unless it's actually the mounted machine guns on most tanks are absolute rubbish. And the Sherman once more getting too close. What is he doing? Anti-tank grenades flying off but not hitting. Sherman slowly retreating, firing away, and causing all of these Panzergrenadiers to retreat in a most expedient fashion. And a second Sherman hitting the field. Absolute Sherman mania. While this Marder 3 is watching everything while the Panzergrenadiers are running away in a most determined fashion. Sherman receiving some repairs. Will this Sherman move in on its own to try and deal with this Marder, or will it wait for its comrade to help? And Sherman taking fire from the front and slowly pulling back, not wanting to deal with the PaK-40. The PaK-40 being quite an effective anti-tank weapon in the German arsenal. So receiving repairs, Germans once more going for the central victory point. The 17th SS have managed to stabilize the situation a bit, but the strafing runs are really putting a lot of pressure on the Panzergrenadiers. And now we are seeing scout cars as well to run around and seize territory and possibly secure it for the fatherland. We shall have to see, and let's have a look at Mr. BisZum. He has gone for the tank destroyer doctrine, and we are seeing Hetzers being prepared. The Hetzer not actually serving in Normandy. I do believe it only arrived at the time of Market Garden around there by the late 1944s, albeit I did believe it saw earlier action on the Eastern Front. It was a bit of a late arrival on the Western Front. But let's not get caught up in details. We can always use our imagination to imagine it as something else, perhaps as 2 or 3. But let's not get caught up. Another Marder 3 on the way. Most interesting. Sherman moving out toward